Can you imagine being struck by lightning? Well, this is the story of a man to whom it happened 7 times. The odds of being struck by lightning in your lifetime are roughly 1 in 15,000. Most people consider a thunderstorm a reason to stay indoors, a distant rumble that poses little threat. But for one man, the sky wasn't just a part of nature. It was a predator. It began in April 1942. Roy was a park ranger in Virginia. A massive storm rolled over the mountains, and Roy took shelter in a newly built fire lookout tower. But there was a problem. The tower had no lightning rod. As Roy watched from the window, lightning struck the tower 7 or 8 times. The inside of the small room turned into a cage of fire. Roy ran for the exit, but just as he stepped out, a bolt found him. It burned a half-inch strip all the way down his right leg, hit his toe, and blew a hole through his boot. He survived. He thought it was a freak accident, a story to tell at the bar. He had no idea the sky was just getting started. 27 years passed. Roy thought he was safe. Then came July 1969. Roy was driving his truck on a mountain road normally, the metal body of a car acts as a protective cage. But this bolt was different. It hit a nearby tree, deflected through the open window of the truck, and struck Roy. He was knocked unconscious. The truck kept moving, stopping just inches from the edge of a cliff. When Roy woke up, his eyebrows and eyelashes were gone. His hair was on fire. Just 1 year later, in 1970, Roy was standing in his own front yard. A bolt hit a nearby transformer and jumped to his left shoulder. He was knocked to the ground, his body searing with heat. At this point, the local community didn't see him as a survivor anymore. They saw him as a curse. By the 4th strike in 1972, Roy began to lose his mind. He was working at a ranger station when a bolt set his hair on fire again. He had to smother the flames with wet towels. He started carrying a bucket of water in his car at all times. He became terrified of clouds. If he was driving and saw a storm brewing, he would pull over, lie across the front seat, and wait in terror. He believed a force was following him. And he was right. August 1973, Roy saw a cloud. He tried to outrun it in his truck. When he thought he was safe, he stepped out of the vehicle. A bolt came down, traveled down his left arm and left leg, and knocked his shoe off. He crawled back to his truck, grabbed his bucket of water, and poured it over his flaming head. This was his life now. A cycle of fire and water. The 6th strike happened in 1976. Roy saw a cloud and thought it was following him. He tried to run, but the lightning hit him anyway. By now, his body was a map of scars and burns. The 7th and final strike occurred in June 1977 while he was fishing in a pond. The bolt hit the top of his head, traveled down his chest, and burned his stomach. But the universe wasn't done playing with him. As Roy sat there, dazed and burning, a bear approached his fishing line to steal his trout. Weak, smoking, and in pain, Roy Sullivan had to find the strength to hit the bear with a stick to drive it away. He was a man who had fought the heavens and the earth, and somehow he was still standing. Roy Sullivan holds the Guinness World Record for the most lightning strikes survived, but the cost was heavy. He lived in constant fear. People avoided him on the streets, afraid that standing next to him was a death sentence. Even his wife was struck once, while hanging clothes. Roy was helping her, and the lightning hit him too. Doctors were baffled by Roy's case. Every time he was admitted to the hospital, they expected to find permanent neurological damage or heart failure. A single bolt of lightning carries up to 1 billion volts of electricity, enough to power a small town for several minutes. Surviving it once is a miracle. Surviving it 7 times is a medical impossibility. Some experts suggested that Roy's job as a ranger made him a natural target. But that didn't explain the strikes inside his truck or his own house. Others began to whisper about something more sinister, a magnetic anomaly. It was rumored that Roy's body had developed a strange magnetic charge, a theory that Roy himself started to believe as he watched clouds seemingly turn in his direction. But the physical scars were nothing compared to the social isolation. Friends would cross the street when they saw him coming. Neighbors made excuses to leave when a storm was miles away. He was a man who lived in the center of a crowd, yet was completely alone. His life became a prison of what-ifs. Every flash of a camera, every spark from a toaster, made him jump. He didn't just survive lightning. He was haunted by it every waking second. In the end, it wasn't the sky that took Roy. In 1983, at the age of 71, Roy Sullivan took his own life. Some say he was exhausted. Others say the trauma of being the chosen one of the storms was too much to bear. Roy survived 7 bolts of lightning, totaling millions of volts of electricity. He survived nature at its most violent, only to fall to the silence of his own mind. We look at the sky and see beauty. Roy Sullivan looked at the sky and saw a predator that eventually won. Next time you hear thunder in the distance, remember Roy, and maybe, just maybe, stay inside. When we look at Roy Sullivan's life, it's hard not to feel like the universe was playing a very dark, very specific prank on him. You'd think that after the 3rd or 4th strike, he might have developed some kind of superpower. But life isn't a Marvel movie. Instead of becoming the Flash and gaining super speed, Roy just got super paranoia and a permanent smell of ozone following him like a cursed perfume. The math behind his life is where things get truly absurd. To have the same odds as Roy, you would essentially need to win the Powerball jackpot, and then immediately get struck by a meteorite while holding the winning ticket. It is a level of unluckiness that defies every law of science we know. It's a bitter irony that the man who survived millions of volts energy, that could power a city, eventually succumbed to the quiet weight of his own thoughts. He was the world's most powerful lightning rod, a man who proved that you can survive the heavens. But sometimes you can't survive the silence. So, I have to ask you, do you believe some people are just marked by fate? Or was Roy just the victim of a cosmic glitch? If you've ever had a 1-in-a-million moment, good or bad, tell me your story in the comments. I'll be down there responding. And remember, next time you see a dark cloud, maybe don't stand next to Roy. Subscribe for more stories that defy logic.